So how can attraction marketing help you in your business? Well, to understand this really, you have to understand the concept of leverage, I guess. Now, Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, told a brilliant story about an island where there were natives living on the island who decided that they needed to have a better system for getting water to the natives. And what happened was, on the side of the island that they lived on, there was no water. But on the other side of the island, and it was separated by mountains and so on the other side of the island, there was all the fresh water that they could ever want. So the the elders of the tribe got together and they decided to award 2 contracts to 2 of the village members, tribe members, to help with the supply of water. So one of them, Joe, he goes out and he gets really excited about this idea that he's now got the contract to supply water to the rest of the island. And he goes out and he gets himself 2 buckets and he climbs up over the hills and down the other side and he fills up his buckets and then comes back up the hill and over the other side and he starts to fill up the well in the village. And all the villagers are like, oh wow, this is fantastic, fresh water, thank you so much, Joe, right? Now the demand for fresh water starts growing and growing. So Joe, realizing this, decides to get 2 more buckets. So now he's got 2 buckets in each hand and he's moving faster than ever. He's virtually running to the other side of the island and filling up his 4 buckets and coming back and filling up the well. And the more times he does this, the more people start to build up a desire to have a shower and wash their clothes and clean water and do their dishes. So the demand for water is growing all the time. So what does Joe do? Joe does what any business owner does, goes out and gets himself a couple of staff members and gives them buckets, right? So now there's Joe and a couple of staff members all running across the other side of the island, filling up buckets and running back and emptying the buckets into the well, and they're doing this day and night, night and day. They're trading their time for money that they're making through the water. The other contract was awarded to Fred. Now Fred's watching all this go on and he thinks to himself, you know what, there's a fundamental flaw in this system. If you make a list of everyone you know and run around trying to contact them and get them to meetings and chase, work, and do all this labor intensive work trying to build a downline, trying to supply water to the village, right? Then there's a fundamental problem with that system. Eventually you run out of time, you run out of energy. If you get sick, the whole process breaks down. And nobody is going to be attracted to a system where you have to run around like a madman trying to build your downline business, right? So Fred decides, instead of running back and forward with buckets and using all of his time, he decides to build a pipeline. And he spends 6 months building his pipeline. And he runs the pipeline through the mountains, down into the well and into the village. And then one day he gets to a point where he's ready to switch on the pipeline, right? Joe at this stage has got 6 employees, but they turn up late for work. Half of them are unmotivated. Some of them leave without telling him, and he has all these headaches trying to supply the water, right? And he's at the point of breaking down and giving up altogether. And then at that moment, Fred turns on the pipeline and water flows through the pipeline, right? And the system's built. Fred doesn't have to go out and keep building more pipelines. He's built a system that attracts qualified leads to him, helps him make money in the process, and sifts and sorts those leads into qualified prospects for his downline, and as a result, his downline business grows. Now, question for you. Which of those 2 would you rather be? Would you rather be Joe running around carrying buckets, or would you rather be Fred, who takes some time to build a system that once it's built can just run on autopilot, regardless of whether you're there manually working in your network marketing business or not? Now I know which one I'd rather be. I'd rather be Fred. And I've had the experience of building a system like Fred and having leads come to me on autopilot and to make money in the process and to have a growing downline. And I could share with you how to do it. And I'm now starting from scratch building a new system. And I invite you to come and join me and follow along with what I'm doing, right? But you've got to get it in your head. The old school way of building network marketing is to run around carrying buckets. The new method, the attraction marketing method, is all about building a system, right? Keep that in mind as you keep reading and watching the videos on this page.